Some places stay with us long after we leave. They nestle in our memories, live in our minds alongside our most precious thoughts. The hands that crafted them know that the journey isn't just about survival. It's about something more. It is about places that welcome you, right before they try to kill you. These are the greatest hubs in Souls-like history. I am FiOth, and I've walked every single one of these paths. Let us not waste any more time. We begin in the grandest theater of them all, the cosmos. I find the observatory endlessly fascinating. Hellpoint was created by a team of about 11 people and released back in 2020. That was a weird time for this genre. Every studio wanted to capitalize on the success of From Software's masterpieces, and many of these studios creating some pretty bad games. Hellpoint had a really small budget, and the people who wanted to make it had two things in mind: Hellraiser and cosmic horror. They achieved this by implementing aesthetic elements from Geiger and, of course, Clive Barker's Hellraiser universe. What strikes me as odd beyond everything else is just how much content is in this starting area. The observatory enjoys some of the best musical treatment the genre has ever seen, but it's not just how it sounds and how it looks, but also how it plays. There is a ton of secrets in this place. In my very first playthrough, being kinda vexed by the poor state in which the game launched, I didn't really pay much attention. It was until about a year later when I revisited the title and I promised myself that if the problems were fixed, I would give it a second fair shake. And I went in there, clear of mind, intent on exploring literally everything. And as you can see, even here, at the crux of everything that happens in the game, there is an insane amount of verticality, and it takes a lot of guts and concentration to explore it all. Why did they go to such lengths? Why did they put so much work into a starting area that usually serves as a place where you can just level up and store your gear? Well, the answer is kinda simple. Because they wanted to convey a sense of scale. This is not some fantasy village where you have to kill 10 rats before you can begin your adventure. This is space, the void, emptiness, and you have to feel how Iridnob is supposed to feel before you can appreciate it and start unraveling its mysteries. Hellpoint, for such a small production, really doesn't cut any corners. And it's places like this where both players who made it and the developers who created the game left their mark for us to find. It is truly a transcendent experience going from the ground floor all the way up here and realizing how much love and effort was put into making this world feel as large as it deserved. For this reason, the observatory takes my 5th place amongst the best Souls-like hubs of all time. If peace exists in Drangleic, it's right here. Majula isn't grand, it isn't safe, but it is comfort. a final warm breath before you drown in despair again. Every return trip to Majula feels like you're coming home, to the only home you have. I am not the grandest admirer of Dark Souls 2. I believe it is a competent game, but it had a lot to shoulder, and I believe it didn't wholly succeed. But Majula is special. It has to be appreciated, because unlike its predecessor, it is literally the pathway towards the entirety of the game. Where Dark Souls 1 gave you a few choices, Majula provides most of what you'll need throughout the entirety of the adventure. The NPCs here are important. They're some of the most important people you'll meet in the game. It holds secrets. It presents you with oddities like a talking cat. And it is really packed with a testament of failure of many a player, from the bloodstains strewn everywhere to the deep pit that leads into the depths. Majula is a very interesting concept, because although many of the areas in Dark Souls 2 are drab, lacking texture work and detail, Majula is anything but. It's brimming with the creative effort of the people behind the game, and it makes sense, because it's the first thing you see when you come out of the starting point of the adventure. I really enjoy my strolls here every time I restart the game, and it is the seaside view that brings it all together. The sublime music helps you relax and makes you feel relatively safe. Safe in a world that our character entered because there was nothing for them back where they came from. For all its flaws, Dark Souls 2 manages to bring to the forefront one of the most impressive and consistently loved hubs of the entire genre, and for this reason it turns number 4 in my top 5. At this point I would like to ask you, dear viewer, what are your 5 favorite hubs in Souls-likes? Why are they your favorite? What do they add to the experience? What do they offer the adventure? And if you really enjoy what you're watching, consider subscribing, it really helps a lot. Without further ado, let's get back to it. The hunter's dream gives you a sanctuary, but never lets you forget what waits outside those gates. The doll's voice, the pale moonlight on the grass, the workshop tool sharp enough to carve gods. It is both a refuge and a reminder that dreams and horrors are one and the same. The dream really needs no introduction. It's been with us for the past 10 years. One of the most atmospheric and serene places you can visit in a Souls-like. Miyazaki made it that way intently. Bloodborne is supposedly his favorite creation, and he wants to convey the contrast of what awaits you once you're back in Yharnam in comparison to how safe and cozy the dream feels. It is all a trap, of course. You are trapped here by the nightmare, and it will keep you here for as long as it desires unless you manage to slay it. The dream is a safe haven for as long as you're willing to avoid looking truth in the eye, and that is its greatest strength. Like when we're dreaming, we envision a pristine, clean, safe, ideal environment, but it can very fast turn into a horror situation. At some point the dream collapses. It is ablaze, getting burned to the ground by the sheer will of the hunter overcoming the obstacles set before them. And behind that gate, at the edge of the courtyard, the very handler who's been helping us throughout the adventure awaits us for one last showdown. German is a weird man. He talks in riddles. He explains how everything is at your disposal, even the doll, if it please you, and then he's there waiting to take your head. Bloodborne goes from 0 to 100 through a slow, methodical pace. That investment into a false sense of security becomes one of his biggest strengths. By the end of the adventure, nothing of the dream remains, nothing of the hunter remains, and none of us have ever forgotten the dream or the creatures that dwelled within it. Before bonfires, before lanterns, there was the Nexus, a cathedral suspended between life, death, and something far older. Every path forward a choice, every archstone a promise or a warning. This is where everything began. I opted to show you the Nexus of the Demon's Souls remake from 2020. That is not because I prefer the 2020 iteration of the game. I am a big fan of the original aesthetics and in some cases the original soundtrack as well. There is a lot lost in translation between the two projects, but when it comes to the Nexus, I think that the remake is the winner. That is because the Nexus has a lot to convey to the player, and modern technology and the techniques used here when it comes to light and ambience really serve that purpose. Some of the aspects of the remake might have been heavy-handed, but the reiteration of the Nexus is not one of them. This is a place where souls get trapped after death. You are here to serve a purpose bestowed upon you by the Wax Maiden. And her mission is simple. The Old One has awoken, and you must lull it back to slumber. What an interesting choice of words. Lull it back to slumber. Sing it to sleep. We could perceive Miyazaki's sensitivities from back in 2009. What I really adore about the Nexus is that it is simply uselessly huge. There is a ton of vertical gameplay in the Nexus, there is a ton of nooks and crannies, there is a lot to explore, and most of it ultimately serves no purpose apart from conveying the scope. This structure was built to guard the Old One, and it had to be as grandiose and foreboding as humanly possible. It is here to keep a god from ever escaping into the world at large. It was made by beings beyond our comprehension, and that is why it looks and feels the way it does. The dreamlike qualities of how it's lit, the characters inhabiting it, all lost in some way, shape or form. They all want to help until other characters approach you that don't. The Nexus in itself to me has always been a puzzle. Back in 2009 we didn't really know what to expect when we found a hub like this in a video game, and still to this day it remains unique. Thus, it's given the number 2 spot in my top 5. No, Thymesia doesn't include the best Souls-like hub ever. I just wanted to thank you for getting to this point. Enjoy the winner of my top 5. Was there really any doubt? Lies of P is one of the most artistic games of the genre, and Hotel Krat is probably the most intricate hub ever to be seen in a game of this ilk. It's not just how it looks and how it sounds, sound being one of its strongest suits thanks to the jukebox that's waiting for you at the corner, providing banger after banger of amazing original music. It is also the phases it goes through, from pristine functional hotel to raided decrepit, and then you can visit it in the past during the forgotten time and see it at its inception. Hotel Krat embodies everything we want in hubs. Lovable characters, progression when it comes to what our character can do, like playing the piano, cuts, And last but not least, a functional training arena where you can practice using your weapons, blocking and parrying, and preparing for the hardships ahead. I cannot stress enough how much I love this place. I've often found myself just leaving the game running, letting the jukebox do its thing, and doing something totally unrelated around the house just to enjoy the ambience and music that came out of the console. Hotel Krat could not have been better, no matter what they added to it. It's sheer perfection, and the fact that they did not shy away from destroying parts of what they created in order to progress the story speaks volumes about these people's commitment to their creative vision. This game was inspired and created to honor Collodi, the original writer of the Pinocchio story, and Hotel Krat at the start of the game is probably the clearest representation of how much thought and effort went into this creation. I love Lies of P 2 Bits, it was my game of the year of 2023, and its hub is Peak Soulslike Center of Activity, and they could not have done a better job with it. I love Sophia, I love Eugenie, I love Palladina, Antonia, all of the characters here, unique, charming, adorable, and the best kind of companion you want close to you when things get rough. I'm eternally grateful to Round 8 Studio and NeoWiz for giving us Lies of P, and I'm keeping my eyes peeled for any news when it comes to the upcoming sequel. I cannot wait to experiencing a lot of talented people pour their souls into this, and it shows in every second of gameplay. Guys, this channel focuses on Souls-likes and horror games. If you enjoyed this video, it took a long time to make, please consider following, and you in turn can keep an ear on the ground for upcoming vids by hitting the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection. Cheers!